everybody, my name is Tanya and today we're going to do something that I've been talking about for a long time, and that is to talk about 30 books that everyone should read before they turn 30. As I've said before, and obviously as my channel name implies, ListObsessedReader, that I read a lot from book lists and love collecting different book lists and kind of seeing my progress and how I have read in them. A lot of things I just kind of keep track, other ones I'm actively pursuing, and this is one that I am actively pursuing. So there are a lot of, books you should read before certain age lists out there, and there are certainly a lot of lists that are 30 books you should read before the age of 30. So I've made a decision, and there's one in particular that I'm following, but there are several that I'm aware of, so I'll leave a link to various lists down in the description. The one that I'm following was an article on Flavorwire a few years ago, and it's called 30 Books Everyone Should Read Before Turning 30, and again I will link the link to this one down in the description, but I'm going to go through the books that are on the list today with you now. So as much as I love lists, I can't say that I've completed all that many, and so these kind of smaller targeted lists are great for being an easier thing that you can kind of get to the end of and be able to check off. Now, I have previously finished a 25 books to read before turning 25, so I'm pleased about that, and I'll leave a link to that one down in the description too. So I've got a little bit under 3 years to go until I hit 30, so I've got some time left, but it's getting down to the pointy end of things, and I'm doing pretty well. I read 22 things from the list already, so I'm getting there. I've not read anything from the list this year yet, so at the end of this video, when I show you them all, I do have a TBR jar for my 30 list, so we'll draw something together there and see what I'm going to read from this list next, because a quarter of the year is gone already. It's about time that I read something from the list to keep making progress. So with 30 things to show you, I'm not going to really go into what the books are about, but I'm going to show them to you and let you know which ones I've actually read and which ones I haven't. So the first thing on the list is actually a twofer, so it's a bit of a cheat, and they are the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. So as those of you who've been watching me for a while will know, I read the Odyssey in August last year as part of a classical literature read-along hosted by Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts. But I haven't actually read the Iliad yet. Next up on the list is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and this is one I have read. This one turns up on a lot of lists for a whole heap of different criteria, not just read it before a certain age lists, and it is definitely worth it. Next up is one I don't own in a physical copy, and that is Jesus' Son by Janice Johnson. This is one that I've heard really fantastic things about the audiobook, so I have an audio version of it that I will listen to someday. Next up is The Complete Stories of Flannery O'Connor, and as I mentioned in my recent birthday haul where I showed this one, I have read the short story collection Everything That Rises Must Converge by Flannery O'Connor, which is contained within this collection of course, but there's another short story collection and some other uncollected works in this volume that I haven't read yet. Next up we have some Shakespeare, and that is Much Ado About Nothing. This is one that I haven't read. I didn't study it in school, and I think the only one that I've read since school is Hamlet. So I'm interested to see how I go with this and reading Shakespeare outside of a school setting. Next up is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, and this one I have read, although I think I would like to revisit it at some stage. I listened to an audiobook a few years ago, and I don't know that it was exactly the best audiobook, and so I didn't really kind of enjoy it at the time, but I found myself thinking about the story more and more as the weeks went by, and it kind of stuck with me in that way. So I'd like to just read it instead of listen to it to see if I get something different out of it. Next is The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and another one that I listened to the audiobook of, although this one was a very good audiobook and I definitely enjoyed it. Next is Mouse by Art Spiegelman, and again I have read this one. Then we have Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, and this is another one where I would highly recommend the audio version to listen to. Next up is Pride and Prejudice, which I read quite a long time ago and I'm definitely due for a reread or a marathon of watching the BBC miniseries. One or the other, or both. Maybe both. Hey Moose! Next up is Middlesex by Geoffrey Eugenides. This was the first of Eugenides' works that I've read, but I have read all three of his novels now, although I think maybe this one's possibly still my favourite. Next up is another one that I don't own and one that I really didn't care for, and that is Ghost World by Daniel Close. This is a graphic novel, and I think I was already too old for that one. Next is another one that I struggled with, and that is On the Road by Jack Kerouac. When I read this one, had a lot of trouble getting through it, didn't really care for it all that much. I would like to visit it someday, but I'm not in any great hurry, but I struggled to get through it at the time. Next up is one I haven't read, and that is The Rise of Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This one comes up on a lot of lists, and I haven't read it yet, and I really do need to get to it. Next is another one that I have only in audio form, and that is Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. I've read a couple of Vonnegut's before this, Galapagos and Slaughterhouse-Five, so I'm looking forward to reading some more of his work. Next up is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, and I read this one again several years ago and think possibly should revisit at some point in time. Next up is something I've read multiple times and read long before this list, and that is The Lord of the Rings by J.R. Tolkien. This is a favourite, absolute favourite of mine, and we'll definitely be revisiting it. I'm really, really due for a reread. Would love to just dive into this right now, but yeah, TBR stack says otherwise. Next up is 1984 by George Orwell, which I have in this Complete Novels of George Orwell volume. This one again I read several years ago and would really like to revisit, but have already checked off for the purposes of this list. Then we have Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. This is not something that gets studied in school here, at least not in my area at all, so it's not something that I read as a teenager. I read it in my early 20s, and I did quite enjoy it actually. I know it's one that really divides people and there is, you know, a lot of negative towards it, but I did actually quite enjoy it and found it interesting. Next up is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I've read this one a couple of times now. And yes, more Crowley Bickford Smith design goodness. Next up is another one I have on audiobook, and that is Beloved by Toni Morrison. I listened to this one last year or the year before, I think, and it was a version narrated by Toni Morrison herself, which was really great. Next up is the one that intimidates me the most from this list that I have not read yet, and that is Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. This one, of course, is an absolute brick of a novel. I have heard, you know, that it's going to be quite difficult to get through. So I'm really, really interested to see how I go with this one and whether I enjoy it or whether I struggle or what happens with it. But it's something that I'm definitely looking forward to tackling someday. We'll see whether it's probably going to come out of my TBR jar at the end of this and it'll be someday sooner rather than later, but we'll see. Next up is another one that I'd really like to reread sometime soon, and that is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I didn't study the book in school, but we did watch the movie. So I was familiar with the storyline from there, but it wasn't till quite a few years after I finished school that I finally got around to reading this one, and it's definitely something that I'd like to revisit. The next we have Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes, and this is something that I loved. I listened to this on audiobook, and it was a massive, massive audiobook. It took a really long time to get through, and I was just laughing up and down on my commute. I just thought it was hilarious. Really, really enjoyed it, and would highly recommend the audiobook narrated by Frederick Davidson, who I think is kind of perfect to voice Don Quixote. Next up is The Trial by Franz Kafka. I don't own a copy of this one, but I have read it. Then we have To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. I listened to the audiobook of this one, and again, it's something that I'd like to revisit because I'm not sure I got as much out of it as I could have. Next up is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, and I feel like I keep saying this, and I do keep saying this, but this is another one that I really, really would like to reread. I enjoyed it at the time of reading, but I think maybe I could get more out of it now, so this is just becoming a list of things Tanya would like to reread someday, but it doesn't have to be within the next 3 years because it's already checked off the list. Another one that I've got on audiobook is Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. This is another one that I hear wonderful things about and shows up on a lot of lists that I haven't got around to yet. And yeah, really looking forward to getting to this one. Then something that I will be rereading soon, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Of course, the new book by Harper Lee will be coming out shortly, so I will be rereading this one in preparation for that, but I'm waiting till a little bit closer to the publication of Go Sit a Watchman. And then lastly, we have Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, which is something that I never read as a child. It's only something that I've read in recent years, and definitely a fun inclusion for the list. So that was everything that's on the list. So as a recap, the ones that I need to complete still are the Iliad portion of the Iliad and the Odyssey, Jesus' Son by Dennis Johnson, The Complete Stories of Flannery O'Connor, Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut, Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace, and Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. So here comes the fun portion of this video where I take my little TBR jar and we'll find out what I'm going to read next. And from this list, I don't know when it's going to happen, not this month due to my TBR, but maybe I can get it in my TBR for May. We'll see what happens. So let's have a look what comes out of the TBR jar. It's this one, and it is The Complete Stories of Flannery O'Connor. So that's fantastic. Erica, you'll be very happy with me now. So this is perfect because I just got this for my birthday, and now I can kind of just start throwing in some short stories every now and then and make some progress through this. It doesn't have to be kind of in one big chunk, so whenever I feel in the mood for some Flannery, I will read some Flannery. Let me know if there are any lists that you follow and link them down so I can check them out, because I'm always happy to get a new list. And if you're thinking of doing something like this, let me know. If you've got any questions about it, do let me know in the comments. As always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!